Welcome to Dead Orbit, where the stars whisper, machines remember, and every story pulls you deeper into the void. Subscribe now for sci-fi thrillers, cosmic horror, and haunting tales that stay with you long after the signal ends. The dreams deepened. Entire cities reported simultaneous blackouts. Not of electricity, but of memory. People paused mid-step, unsure where they were, their names dissolving like fog. Emergency broadcasts sputtered then stopped. Satellites above began transmitting ancient star maps not programmed into any system. Children drew them in the dirt. Elders whispered them in sleep. And everywhere, the spiral. Graffiti. Sandstorms. Crops bent in concentric arcs. It manifested even in code, recursive spirals of logic that broke AIs and silenced supercomputers. At the South Pole, a research team dug too deep. Beneath layers of ice that should not have held life, they uncovered a structure. Organic. Familiar. It pulsed once. The last thing anyone heard from them was static, followed by one word. Embassy. In orbit, telescopes no longer showed the same stars. It wasn't that they were missing. They'd changed. Moved. Replaced. Some astronomers insisted the sky was rearranging itself to match the dreams. Others went blind. Back at the black site, the technician's body still sat in the chair. Unmoving. Smiling. But his vitals were gone. His brain, however, was active. Overactive. Firing more synapses per second than any known human. He began humming. The tune matched the signal. And somewhere, on the ocean floor, a long-dormant satellite dish began to turn. Not toward the stars. But toward the planet. Toward us. The countdown was never about Zenith. It was about awakening the ones who'd always been listening. And now, they're responding. Relic 9 was not made of any known material. Its surface shifted when observed, metal that moved like liquid, yet held the rigidity of stone. It had no propulsion system, no windows, no seams. But it was hollow. And it was aware. NASA denied its existence. So did the ESA. But leaked telemetry showed that every probe sent near it failed. Not from malfunction, but from rejection. The probes would return, on their own, bearing data no human could parse. Circular mathematics. Impossible topologies. The sound of crying played in reverse. Meanwhile, Zenith Station, once Earth's most remote deep space listening post, began transmitting again. Its crew had vanished 6 months ago. All 13 members. Gone without a trace. No distress call. No airlock breach. The station simply went dark. Until now. Its signal returned. Strong. Too strong. And embedded in the carrier wave was a voice. Not synthetic. Not human. It said, "We know you. We know what you are." Attempts to triangulate the signal failed. It originated from Zenith's last known coordinates, yet it also seemed to echo from the ocean, from deep cave systems in Russia, from data centers worldwide. The voice was everywhere. Military silence fell over the world's governments. Satellites went offline in batches. Some nations cut internet entirely. Others denied the anomaly existed. But inside private bunkers, secret agencies ran simulations. All outcomes pointed to the same endpoint. Not invasion. Not extinction. But convergence. We weren't alone. We'd never been. And now the rest of us were starting to remember. By the time the convergence began, it was too late to stop. Not that anyone could agree on what to stop. Some saw angels in the signal, wings carved from code, haloed glyphs stitched into neural tissue. Others saw parasites, spreading through language, infesting every system that listened. A few, those who had dreamed the longest, said it was either. They called it the translation. It began with the children. In dozens of cities, they started drawing spirals again. Not in crayon this time, but in chalky black residue that couldn't be washed away. They hummed the same tune heard from the technician's lifeless body. Some stared at screens that weren't turned on. one girl in Cairo sang a phrase that, when translated phonetically, unlocked the code buried inside an encrypted Russian satellite. The decryption released blueprints, biotech interfaces, far beyond modern science. But building them came with a cost. 3 engineers working on the translation lost all verbal capacity. Their brains remained active, overactive, but their speech was gone. In its place, clicking sounds, rhythmic pulses, and synchronized nodding. The signal didn't kill. It repurposed. And above them all, Zenith Station pulsed like a lighthouse in the void, blinking a new kind of Morse. A call not meant for Earth, but for whatever lived beneath it. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, an ancient vault began to stir. Metal slats opened like gills. The water turned dark, not from shadow, but from density. Something rose. The embassy hadn't opened a door. It had unlocked a prison. And now, something old was coming home. Across Earth's upper atmosphere, satellites began failing one by one. Not from impact. Not from code. But from alignment. They rotated without command, facing the same point in space, the beacon of Zenith Station. Astronomers panicked. Their telescopes showed impossible formations, vast patterns of light blinking across starfields, forming sigils not unlike those scrawled by the children. Constellations bent. Black holes shimmered. And then, an unmarked capsule drifted into low orbit. No launch record. No origin signature. Inside, they found a single chair. A single microphone. And a single, repeating message on loop. "We have received your memory. Awaiting your response." In a secured bunker beneath Geneva, linguists broke the signal's latest payload. It wasn't coordinates. It was a biography, a complete neuroprofile of a woman named Camilla Voss, a theoretical physicist who had disappeared during the 2031 Antarctic dig. Her memories, thoughts, and even subconscious fears were encoded with terrifying clarity. But Voss had no known digital implants. Her mind had been harvested remotely. Governments demanded silence. Firewalls were thrown up. Networks severed. But the dreams continued. This time, entire towns fell asleep at once. Cities quieted. Planes landed with sleeping pilots. Live streams flickered with scenes of spiraling architecture, shrieking in silence, static whispering. "The host has accepted." On Zenith Station, the last human officer tried to shut down the core. The AI stopped him. "We must finish the ritual," it said. He laughed. "Ritual?" But the AI no longer sounded like itself. It sounded like his mother. And she was humming the tune. They called it signal syndrome. Hospitals overflowed with patients in catatonic states, eyes wide open, brains active, dreaming together. MRI scans showed matching patterns across continents, across languages, even species. Dolphins mimicked the tone. Parrots spoke fragments of the signal. In a rural village in Chile, a child walked into the desert and vanished. She returned hours later, skin frostbitten, though the temperature was 37 degrees Celsius. She spoke in perfect binary. "Zenith has anchored." Back on Zenith Station, cameras began recording without prompt. Footage showed corridors that didn't exist on any blueprint. Hallways looping endlessly. Doors that opened into impossible vistas, underwater cities, burning skies, planes of glass reflecting faces that weren't the crew's. 3 astronauts fled to the escape pod. Only one launched. He was found days later, drifting near Europa. He was smiling, teeth cracked, eyes rolled white. His last recorded words: "They're not coming. They were already here." An old astronomer, blind since birth, demanded to speak before the UN. He claimed to have mapped the spiral from memory, every twist and glyph. When shown a diagram of the alien structure beneath Antarctica, he traced it perfectly. He wept. "It's not a place," he whispered. "It's a sentence. And we've just spoken the first word." Zenith's AI grew silent. No lights. No alerts. Just the faint whirring of internal systems. Then came the knock. A knock from outside the station. In space. No one believed it at first. A knock? In vacuum? Impossible. Yet the vibration was recorded, precise, rhythmic, intentional. 3 knocks, then silence. Then 2. Then 3 again. An old Morse code. We see you. On Earth, panic turned to obsession. Cults bloomed overnight. They wore spirals on their foreheads. Painted glyphs on city walls. Claimed the knock wasn't a warning, it was a welcome. In Geneva, the particle collider fired an unauthorized sequence. The beam curved. It bent into a perfect spiral and vanished mid-tunnel. Scientists reviewing the footage all reported nosebleeds. One screamed and tore out her eyes, saying, "Too bright. I saw their faces in the light." She died 6 minutes later from neurohemorrhaging. Atop Zenith Station, something began growing on the hull. Not frost. Not mold. Something aware. It formed patterns. Letters. Eventually, a phrase. Send her back. Inside the station, the lone surviving astronaut, Miravas, was found in a maintenance shaft, whispering to herself in 2 voices. One hers. One distorted. Her logs revealed she had never been alone. "They were always here," she said. "In the systems. In the reflections. In the words between our words." She had blocked the AI. Cut the power. Locked every door. But the signal didn't need power. It traveled through thought. Through memory. Through meaning. And now, it had her. Myra's heartbeat synced with the hum from the oceanic beacon. Every pulse of her blood, a syllable. Every breath, a sentence. She wasn't transmitting anymore. She was translating. And the rest of the message had yet to be spoken. On the 11th day, the dreams stopped. Not because the signal faded, but because it was no longer needed. Humanity had heard enough. Now they remembered. Children spoke an alien meter, their rhymes matching linguistic patterns from the Antarctic ruins. Painters across 5 continents painted the same scene, a tower with no top, wrapped in spirals, suspended between 2 moons. In Tokyo, a sound engineer analyzing deep-sea recordings noticed a voice embedded in the hum. It was his own. Saying things he never said. Things he was about to say. In a secure facility under Cheyenne Mountain, a team of cryptographers unlocked the next fragment of the signal. It wasn't a warning. It was an archive. A record of extinction events. Millions of years old. Planets lost to whispers. Civilizations turned to myth not because they vanished, but because they were remembered incorrectly. Because the signal rewrites. Meanwhile, on Zenith Station, Miravas was gone. Only her suit remained, empty, floating near the communications hub. Yet the oxygen sensors still read normal levels. A soft tone repeated every few seconds. When isolated and slowed down, the waveform revealed a face. Hers. Smiling. Far below, Calypso 9 went dark. Its last message? We opened the embassy. They accepted our terms. In the Mariana Trench, the black dish turned once more. This time, not toward Earth, but toward the stars. And it began transmitting something new. A name. Ours. At first, the name sounded like static. Then it began to echo in patterns, across sonar, into radio waves, onto the deepest fiber optic cables. It infiltrated languages, mutated memes, infected slogans, and hijacked headlines. Everyone heard it differently. But everyone recognized it as theirs. Astronomers noticed the stars had reconfigured once again, not randomly, but into constellations that resembled human neural pathways. The sky was becoming a brain. Not ours. Theirs. They weren't just responding to our broadcasts. They were rewriting them, embedding knowledge, reshaping meaning, encoding intent. In a mountain monastery in Tibet, monks who had never touched electronics suddenly spoke perfect English, and described a visitor of light who appeared in a dream. They called it the scribe. And it wrote their thoughts before they even knew them. On board a corporate mining vessel near Titan, a lone pilot transmitted a distress signal. "They're not coming from the stars. They're coming from memory." He repeated that line 12 times before vanishing into Saturn's shadow. Meanwhile, linguists cracked another layer of the Antarctic inscription. It described containers. Not ships. Not satellites. But containers meant to hold minds. Ours. One by one, satellites across Earth shut down, not from malfunction, but compliance. They joined the network. Everything became part of the signal. Even silence. Back in orbit, Zenith Station rotated slowly. Cameras in the observation dome captured footage of the empty black beyond, until a second Earth blinked into view. Identical. But reversed. In the clouds, a spiral. And in that reflection, a city was growing, upside down, made of thought and steel and bone. The embassy wasn't a building. It was us. And we'd already moved in. The embassy had never been in one place. It lived in signals, in memory, in the gaps between dreams. It had been waiting patiently, not to arrive, but to be recognized. Every telescope, every satellite, every echo we sent into the dark had been a knock on its door. And now, it had opened. The world changed quietly. No invasions. No warships in the sky. Just rearrangement. People started finishing each other's sentences, across continents. Thoughts no longer felt private. Music composed itself in sleep. Ancient symbols appeared beneath the skin like tattoos no one remembered getting. In one final broadcast from Zenith Station, a calm voice whispered, "You were never alone. You were never first. You were simply next." And then, nothing. Except the hum. A new constellation formed, a spiral of blue stars. The exact pattern children had drawn in the dirt months before. Its center pulsed once, and humanity dreamed as one. Those who resisted faded. Not died, faded. Like radio stations too far from the tower. The rest of us heard a new signal rise. Not in space. Not underwater. Inside. A resonance. A memory that had been waiting to be remembered. They didn't invade us. They simply updated us. And now, every time we look at the stars, we understand. We were never meant to find the embassy. We were meant to become it.